Uh, awesome. Thank you. Hi, guys. Good evening, everybody. My name is Alan Sebastian. I am currently doing my master's at Northeastern University, and I'm also part of the Product Folks US chapter. I'm really happy to be in this event. We took a break of 2-3 weeks, and we're back with another event. And I have with me Rachita, who is a co-host in this event alongside me. Hi, Rachita. How are you? Could you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alan. First off, thanks, Aakash, for being with us. Yeah, I'm Rachita, and I'm pursuing Masters of Engineering Management from Duke University. As Alan said, we took a bit of a break, but I guess we're back with Aakash, and we've got some amazing stuff for you guys. So yeah, hang tight, stay around, and hopefully this session will add a lot more value to you guys.
Awesome. We have with us Aakash today. First of all, Aakash, thank you so much for your time. I know it's pretty hectic at Zoom, and you have taken the time for us today. Thank you very much for being a part of this session.
You're welcome, and thanks for inviting me, Alan and Rachita.
Awesome. Thanks, Aakash. So, folks, I'll just quickly introduce the product folks a little bit. I'll talk about the agenda for today's event, and then we can get right into the main part, the fireside chat. So a bit about the product folks. The product folks is a volunteer-driven community of product managers and aspiring product managers. We started off in India in 2019. It's been 2 years. And I was a part of the founding team back in India. And now that I have moved to the US and few of my friends like Rachita also moved to the US, we started this chapter. So far, we have started a program called, we have started a campus chapter basically at multiple universities. And that's going good. We have around 9 chapters so far as of today. And we are slowly adding new universities as well. That's about the US chapter. We also have a Slack channel where we have now and then we have AMAs. We have people discussing about multiple things. We post about our upcoming events there as well. So I'll just quickly drop the link that you can join. 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna paste it to everybody. Yes. So for those who would like to join the Slack channel, feel free to sign up there. And yeah, welcome to the product folks. Also, there's a polling which we will be doing. Aakash, are these questions live or should we launch it
now? I can launch it now.
Yeah, let's launch those questions. So just feel free to answer these polls so that we get an idea of your background and your interests. And also, you feel free to ask questions. There is a Q&A section towards the end. There's a Q&A button. You can start asking questions, and we'll be picking them up towards the end of the session. We also have a very small Luma thing where we want to see where people are from, and feel free to just click that link and just it'll tell you where you are. You can just give it a name, and we'll know where you're from. We'll maybe have a look at it towards the end or in the middle. Yeah, that being said, I just want to quickly highlight the agenda for today's session. So we'll be talking about Aakash's journey towards product management more specifically. We'll be talking a little bit about interview preparation because this is the intern/job search period. We'll be doing that. And we'll also have a quick rapid fire if time permits. And towards the end, we'll have a resume review thing that we promised as earlier. So we had around 20 to 30-ish resumes sent to us. So we'll be having their resumes reviewed live. Of course, we'll stop the recording, so not to worry. And we'll have that towards the end, and we'll conclude. So that's the agenda for today's event. So yes, let's get right into it. Aakash, again, thank you so much for your time. So I'm curious to know more about your journey. That is, let's start from your master's time at SJSU. You did your MS in software engineering,
Yep.
and then consequently you did your internship at PayPal. what point in time you were able to, you got that inclination towards product management? And like back then, like I think 2 years back, how many people were interested in PM? And if you could start up, if you can talk about that, it'll be great.
Okay, that's a good question, Alan. So I'll answer the first part. I did not know anything about product management, I did not even know this title existed when I came for my master's or as applying. Like most people usually, they know what they want to become when they come to the US or get a job. I did not know anything about PM. I just wanted to become a software engineer because I did my bachelor's in computer science. So I was like, okay, software engineering is the next natural step. And a couple of my friends had gone to SJSU. So I knew the college, the location, the courses. So it seemed like a no-brainer. And thankfully I got in. And even till my summer internship, which would be in 2019, 1 year later, I still wanted to become a software engineer. And I got into PayPal. And during that internship, it was when I kind of heard about product management, because PayPal has, I think, I don't know, more than 3K product managers. And at PayPal, they had a first year of hosting an internal global innovation tournament. So that was, you can pitch an idea, and if your idea gets in the top 100, then basically you can pitch to the VP, and the top idea would be implemented by the leader with support from the leadership team. And I just submitted an idea that it was cooking in my mind, like might as well submit it. What is the worst that can happen? And I forgot about it. And then I think after 3 weeks, I didn't care much for the idea. I was just focusing on my project and working on getting a full-time offer from PayPal. But I get an email from my director saying that, hey, your idea is in the top 100. So you have moved on to the next round. And I think out of 2,500 people, I was in the top 100. And then he connected me to PMs, sales, account executives. So I kind of fleshed out the idea more, and I got into the top 50. And then I talked to a couple of PMs to how to validate an idea, how to target a customer, everything. And that is when, while having a talk with a couple of PMs, I found out about this field. Then to validate whether I really liked it or not, I talked with more people, network, talked with PM interns, and then I kind of finally decided to kind of pivot towards product management. And to answer your second question, Alan, could you how many people were interested from my program? So the answer to that is one, as far as I know, because my program was significantly big. It was 180 students, but even the name of the program was Masters in Software Engineering. But I'm still surprised how many of the courses I took at that time are relevant in my day-to-day job right now. But basically, I was the only one preparing. Most people were just focused on getting their first offer or their second offer, converting their internship, or just focus on getting SWE roles. So it became difficult at that time, because if you have no support from your peer group, or if you're just alone, even you can doubt yourself, like, am I doing the right thing? But I just kind of kept on going and constantly validated that, and it worked out.
Nice. I have to say this, back in Himanshu, Himanshu, the link is the bit.ly link, which is about. Yeah, cool. So I have to say this. So back in Chennai, where PayPal also has an office. I'm from Chennai, so PayPal also has an office there. I still remember vividly when I take the train to school, I used to see the PayPal written, and I wanted to work at PayPal badly. I still remember those days, and I do have certain friends in PayPal. So back when I was in Chennai, I used to attend their events, their product events, and I used to really like it. Shout out to Women in Product. And yeah, I have to give that shout out here. Cool. So moving further. Yes.
Yep. Aakash, I think you mentioned that there were a couple of courses that you did during your master's which helped you out. Could you just shed more light on that?
Sure. So one course that I did was called Software Systems Engineering. It basically showed how the main coursework was creating mock-ups and just working together as a team and collaborating with different teams as well. So if let's say there was a group of 4, then each one would have a different role and they would play their own part in the mock project. So that was one which definitely helped. And the second 2 would be basically you can call it as HCI, like human computer interaction 1 and 2. So it was more focused on design, intentional design, how users think, how you should think while designing your systems. I wouldn't say the theoretical knowledge applies, but the kind of projects or the work that I did then was super helpful and is even helpful today.
Oh, that's great to hear. And what was the preparation for product management interviews like for you? Because you mentioned you were in a cohort where there was only you who was interested in product management.
Yeah.
And then how did you go about doing all of the mock interviews, or what were your resources like there?
Honestly, my process was very inefficient. I mean, based on the number of resources today, the YouTube channels, there are probably 20 plus videos on what is product management and how to break into it. At that time, it was virtually non-existent. It was there, but it was hard to find. So the best source still is LinkedIn and Twitter. Twitter for just product management learnings from anyone you follow, but be very intentional of whom you exactly follow. And on YouTube, especially now, you can find a lot of information, but at that time, product talks from PMs at other companies is always a great resource because they know, like, you know how they are thinking about their products. And definitely the main books which everyone refers to, Cracking the PM Interview, and Lewis Lynn's Cracking the I don't know, Decode and Conquer, and Cracking the Product Manager Interview. Those were definitely helpful because coming from a software engineering background, they tell you how to think like a PM and how to talk like a PM in interviews, because sometimes as a software engineer you can be focused more on the technical aspect or just get right into it, but PM interviews are more of a conversation and they want to hear and see what your thought process is like. So developing that mindset is definitely helpful.
Gotcha.
Speaking of books, Aakash, I forgot to mention this before the event. So folks, those who, after the event, those who post on LinkedIn on the learnings that you got out of this event, we'll pick one winner and that winner will get a gift from Aakash. It'll be mostly a book only, but yeah, you'll get something from Aakash. So feel free to tag Aakash in the post. Let the winner get the book. Awesome. So speaking of books, I would also like to quickly talk about certain books that helped me. The one book that really helped me was Inspired. It gave me context. It gave me where exactly does PM fit in the entire product lifecycle. And from there, to prepare for the interviews, as Aakash rightly pointed, Decode and Conquer helped. There's another book that I would recommend. It is Product Design by Aritom Dashinsky. I can maybe send a link sometime later. That is more towards product design only, not talking about product management, specifically about product design. But it's a really good book. You guys should check it out. Cool. So moving further.
Yeah, Alan, a quick introduction before I just remembered one more thing. For mock interviews, Stellar Peers is an amazing site. Not a promotional plug, but I used it several times, and even seeing the mock interviews on their channel, you will get amazing context on how to kind of go step by step across everything. Even if you have zero idea of what is asked in the interviews or anything, and I just got the poll results, I think almost more than 40% of the people are still applying or still getting interviews. So the moment you get an interview, before that, you should be prepared with all of these. I mean, at the point of interview, it should only be company specific prep and not general prep.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. So coming back to your journey, Aakash, tell us how was it, like walk us through as an intern at Zoom. Like what did you work on? How was the process? Was it a virtual internship, or like just tell us everything about PM internship at Zoom?
Sure. So when I was looking for PM internships, I got 2 interviews total out of probably the 400 applications that I'd sent. It's very bad. And if you have a better chance than me, then amazing. I mean, yeah, but I just kept applying, but I wasn't getting anywhere from applications. I even took referrals and applied on the first day to every single rotational program or APM program, but got promptly rejected. So at that point, it was almost like a slippery slope. But then I was just checking internships full time, anything that I get. Then I noticed Zoom had a product intern opening, and I knew first about Zoom because my school, San Jose State, used to use Zoom for virtual office hours with professors, and I gave a couple of interviews where they use Zoom. So that was my only touch point there. So I was like, okay, any PM internship works right now. So I applied to their internship, but while applying, I remembered all the 400 applications I'd done before. So I just checked out who's the hiring manager for it. And the hiring manager was not explicitly given, but I just looked at which are the PMs from Zoom who are hiring and just messaged every single one of them saying that, hey, I'm interested. This is my background. Here's my resume. It would be great if you could take a look at it, anything. So I have these templates written down. I just kind of plug them in, and someone got back to me the next day, and it was one of the PMs at Zoom. They connected me with the hiring manager, and then I was called for an interview a week later. I had 4 rounds at that time, everything in person, and it helped because I think I lived 10 minutes away from the Zoom San Jose downtown campus, so I could just walk there anytime. The first round was a recruiter screen, the standard behavioral questions: why Zoom, why PM, tell me about yourself. For 30 minutes. The second one was a chat with the hiring manager where she asked me why PM, about she gave me more information about the team, what they do, and then why I want to work here, and a couple of product sense questions, and which courses I was taking during my master's, which could be relevant to PM. So like taking those courses, which I mentioned in hindsight, was a great investment. And then after that, I was called on site for 2 45-minute rounds. One was basically walking the interviewer through a new Zoom product, or how do I develop X for Zoom, or how do I integrate this feature in Zoom. And the second one was more of a behavioral or culture fit, and half of it was focused on a type of project that was there potentially. And after the interview, I was super nervous whether I would get it or not, because I was also on the clock because I was planning to go to India mid-December. I hadn't been back home for 2.5 years. And coincidentally, it was Thanksgiving and Christmas and everything. It was a holiday, so I couldn't hear back from them for a long time. And every day, if you have ever waiting for a decision, you know, every day kills you a little inside. Yeah. And I think just 3 days before I was scheduled to leave for India, I get an email saying that, hey, I have an offer. So I lost that ticket money for my flight, but I got the internship.
Awesome. Great story. I think we are also in pretty much in the same thing. So I've applied to 50 plus so far, waiting to get responses back. I know many of my friends are in the same space. We'll see.
It's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah. Aakash, you spoke about your software engineering experience at PayPal, right? I was just wondering, did that help you build credibility amongst your engineers while you were working at Zoom? How did that experience translate well as a PM at Zoom, APM at Zoom?
That's a good question. So just for some context, I worked both as a software engineer intern at PayPal, and then as a full-time software engineer again at PayPal after I graduated. So it definitely helps me right now, but I wouldn't say it's a necessary prerequisite for any PM role. It depends. So for me personally, I came from a very strong technical background, and to add to that, the 1 year of engineering experience. So it definitely helped communicate more clearly with the engineering team and scoping out the requirements, because and that also relates to the team that I work on at Zoom, which is the enterprise team, which basically focuses on enterprise customers. So sometimes those requirements can be a bit complex. So while working with engineering, if there are APIs, a whole platform play, as Zoom is kind of becoming a platform company, you can read about it in our blog, or specific features to any customers, the engineering background definitely helps out there. Or even while talking with customers and partners, which I'll do almost on a daily basis, sometimes they bring in their technical folks, and then it's just good to have some technical chops. But again, it totally depends on which PM role you're applying for. I know many PMs at Zoom, they do not have a technical background and they are phenomenal PMs.
That's great to hear, I suppose, for a lot of us.
Yeah. So let's move back to your time at Zoom. You're currently in Zoom. So at Zoom, tell us after the PM intern and before you could join as a full-time PM, what was the transition like? Like for example, how was the job matching thing where you given options? Tell us about that, and tell us about currently what does your job entail? Like, are you focusing on strategy more or execution? Or do you like? Are you being pampered like companies like Zoom, where you have one person for that, one person for this, or you're getting your hands dirty and you're doing everything?
Okay. So there wasn't an official transition, I would say. The main reason for that is after I interned at Zoom, I worked at PayPal for 1 year. So there was a gap because at that time the full-time thing did not work out. But I was in touch with everyone, like most of the PMs from Zoom, as well as a couple of people from the senior leadership team. And I was always in touch with them, asking them, is something there, or just general touch point, any tips on breaking into PM, how can I do it here internally within PayPal. And just while talking, a role came up, which was a new team, and I was the second PM to join my current team. My then manager connected me with my current manager, and I think we had a quick chat and I basically got the offer. So it was like a 20-minute call and I got the offer. And my work is very different from what I did as an intern. So as an intern, I was focused mainly on meetings, webinars, and the web settings on Zoom. And right now it cuts across all products for enterprise customers.
Awesome. Now we just wanted to speak to you, Aakash, about you've applied, as you mentioned, to 400 roles and all of it, and you've had interviews for a few of them. What do you think worked well for you with the Zoom interview?
Honestly, with the Zoom interview, let me think. It was like almost 2 years ago.
Please take it in.
Yeah. So I think apart from Zoom, I can give you one specific example which worked for Zoom, and then a couple of tips which worked for me for Zoom, but then also worked for me when I interviewed at different companies. The first point, which was specific to Zoom, was is to know the product in and out. Who is it for? Who are its customers? And what does using the product on a day-to-day basis look like? And I did that. I basically purchased a Zoom Pro license from their website before my interview and just researched anything and everything about it. I mean, there's an admin dashboard. How does it look from the side who's deploying Zoom to users in their company? How does it look from a user perspective? If I switch something on and off in the backend, then how does it reflect here? If I can disable chat or not, raise hands, how does the whole thing work, and what are the metrics that they are tracking for each meetings? And it was a very small investment at that time. now that I look back, because as a student, any amount that you spend, you kind of track it and measure it very carefully. But that, like, research anything and everything you know about that company's product. So if you're interviewing at Slack or Dropbox, then get a premium version, see how it works, and get more information from a recruiter about which team it is. So if it's a consumer team, then research from that angle, and if it's an enterprise team or a B2B side of things, then research more about how deployments work. How does, if you have a, if Zoom offers, let's say, if any product offers SSO, then how those features work within that. So researching a product end to end is something that definitely worked for me back then, because I could really speak my opinions about the product and what I thought the experience should be.
Mhm.
And apart from that, if you want to do well in an interview, then look up your interviews on LinkedIn, look at on YouTube whether they have had any product talks. Then if you find something, then you can know how they think, how they speak, how they feel about their product, what does their vision for their product look like. If you have that perspective, then that's a clear differentiator within a single interview. And read any blogs that they have put out, look at their previous history, what have they previously worked on, did they also transition from being someone else to a PM, which school did they go to, what does their background look like, were they a PM from before or not, where do they come from. Every single thing that you know will help you during your interview, because if you feel that you know that person beforehand, then you'll be more comfortable in front of them, compared to, hey, you're seeing someone for the first time, you don't know anything about them. That will just make you nervous. So in my case, I did that. And Zoom has an annual user conference called Zoomtopia. A couple of PMs had spoken in that. I looked at each rerun that was there previously, and I even looked at a couple of the talks from our CEO Eric, and how he spoke about Zoom, how he thought about Zoom and its future. So that also helped me get a better perspective on the culture of the company. So I would say that is a very clear differentiator.
Great points. Great points. What I can sense is that pretty much the research has to be done to get the big picture of what exactly we're doing. A question on that. So let us say, I mean, you told that you joined in the enterprise. You were serving the enterprise customers. So I wanted to know, like, when you were an intern, you said you were working on Q&A and polling and basically consumer facing stuff. And then when you went to the full-time role, it was an enterprise role. What was the process like to understand the customer's needs? And what did you do to, like, for example, you said you, did you speak to customers? Did you talk to other PMs? Would love to know how were you able to get the bigger picture of the user's needs, specifically with the enterprise?
Yeah, I think you answered my question in what you asked, Alan, is that I talked to a lot of customers. I am still talking with a lot of customers, partners, stakeholders within Zoom, all the cross-functional teams, and even other PMs to collaborate on a task. So, and this is something that you do every day. You just keep learning. So at no point, like even every week, I feel I'm learning something new, and I make sure to kind of keep doing that. Is just by talking with more and more people. And if you do that, you just get a better perspective of something. And initially it was very difficult because I had zero context, like you mentioned. Like I did not know what the bigger picture was. So again, for me, the process was inefficient. Maybe if it could took an enterprise PM 2 hours to figure out something, it would probably take me 4 hours or 5 hours. So I just made sure that after work, I'll just look into a couple of aspects for that. But now I need to do that less and less as I kind of get more efficient and focus on my learnings in a different way.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Yeah, just a quick follow-up on that. So the good thing about enterprise is that the average ticket size is high. It will be very high as compared to normal consumers. But then you only need few enterprise customers as opposed to other people. Like for example, let's say if you need 1,000 people in consumer side, you might need 10. in the enterprise side. Just the numbers will be a little low. But then like it, uh, uh, like how are you quantifying the needs? For example, let's say, is there a way for you to figure out what are the top 10 needs, or how many people need this? How do you quantify those needs, and how do you take it forward and build and ship the features? Like, because as the sample size is so small, how do you quantify them? That's the question.
So it gets a bit smaller within enterprise also, because the buyer and the consumer are different in enterprise. So
Yes.
and in consumer license, if you're a freelancer who's using Zoom, then you would buy a single license for yourself and would do it. But in enterprise, maybe your IT team is the one who's actually deploying, managing all of your web settings for you, and the people in the company are the ones who are using it. So it's, again, coming back to the point, just keep on talking to those customers, and you have to go deep into every single concept that they're looking for, and make sure that if you're making this change in this segment, then it should not reflect in any other feature. So if I turn this feature on for them, it should not break, or there should not be any conflicting logic anywhere. Yeah. So a case could be, and like a small exercise, if someone is not signed in, how would their experience be versus someone who's signed in with SSO in Zoom? And then if a user from another organization joins, if I join someone else's meeting, then how would that experience look like? So just maintaining consistency over that, and constantly being in touch with them and talking with them definitely helps.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Aakash, I think one of the things that as engineers we tend to do is look more towards the solution space, right? You see a small bit of a problem, and then you directly dive into using whatever knowledge that you've gained in the past 4 or 5 years with your bachelor's degree, and then if you've had masters, to directly dive into the solution part. How was that a dilemma kind of solved for you? Because you did 4 years of bachelor's and then 2 years master's, which is again an engineering degree, but then you had to switch to thinking first and foremost about the problem as opposed to diving into the solution. So how was that mindset switch for you?
Oh, that's a great question, Rachita. So and you're right. If you are a software engineer intern or working full-time as a software engineer, you're incentivized to look more at the solution and just quickly figure out a way how you have to do it. Definitely with best practices and making sure everything is up to code, but you're definitely more focused on the solution. And after you have kind of pushed your code out, for from what I've seen with my friends, they are not keen on what happens to it after it's deployed. What's the go-to-market plan, or what's the rollout going to be? How are consumers affected by it? How are customers using it? What do they feel like when using it? Mostly what comes back is, hey, this is a bug, or this is not working as expected, or hey, we need to add this feature again to it. And in this case, side projects, mock interviews, just to develop your sense, and internships are very handy. So with side projects, you can, there are a lot of online communities now. There is APMC, there is Product Bud. So they keep on hosting, I think it's called Productthon or Protothon, where you are teamed up with a group and you can sharpen your PM skills. So getting your hands dirty, like Alan mentioned, is a great way to kind of dive headfirst and look at what problem are we solving, instead of just going directly into the solution. And apart from that, if you're doing mock interviews and you're preparing, you can get direct feedback from people on how you are thinking about something. So if you're someone who's transitioning from wants to transition to a PM role, then that's a great way. And the third way, which is probably a bit more difficult than the first two, is an internship. But if you can get any internship, just just get it and just work on it. Do not worry about how much they are paying at that time. Just if you get that learning experience, it will be invaluable and a big stepping stone to your future role, because you can always get a role, but if you keep on collecting those small experiences along the way, then it goes for a long time. Because when my internship was ending, I definitely wanted a full-time offer, but I knew that someday I will get a full-time PM role if this does not work out. So definitely just kind of gather any experience that you can. And a fourth point, which I forgot to mention, was just talk with PMs on LinkedIn. Great ways to see who have become PMs from the school that are attending right now, because they will be more inclined to help you.
Those were some great points. Thank you so much, Aakash.
Just a quick plug. So at Product Folks, we have an initiative called the Product Teardown. Basically, the idea is just like what Aakash just said. We were like, there's GitHub for developers, there's Dribble for designers. What's that platform for PMs, right? So that was the initial spark. And basically, the concept is at Product Folks, we bring in a product and we give you an opportunity to critique about the product. For example, how good is the onboarding? How good is it is a discovery? How good is the checkout process? So you will get an opportunity to tear down and look into and critique them. And the best ones will be put in a live event and they'll be given awards and stuff like that. So check it out. The only caveat is that most of the products are from India. We are yet to start with American products. Most of them are startups as well, who we know. So yeah, check it out. That should help you to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
Cool. And if something like that interests folks in the US, maybe we can stick something
let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know. We'll see if we can get it up and running for US as well. Cool. Awesome. Aakash, I want to spend some 4-5 minutes specifically about interview prep. There are so many questions about interview prep. Before that, I would want to know, like, what do you think are the top few reasons why people are not able to crack, say, product design interview or estimation, or in general, a PM interview? What do you think are, like, say, red flags or certain things that people should avoid while doing the interview? Like, why do you think that people are not able to crack interviews? Some thoughts on that?
Sure. And I can speak from my experience, because a couple of months ago, I interviewed some candidates for our intern and new grad program for PM roles. And drawing from that, and based on the interviews where I did not get an offer from, I can definitely say the top 3 things are not knowing the product end to end. And if it's a generic question not related to the product for the company that you're interviewing, it's the lack of cross questioning and just jumping directly into your solution. Even if you are focusing on the problem space, you should not assume a lot of things. Yeah. So, I mean, for example, if someone asks you why the users for LinkedIn have dropped by 10%, then your first answer should not be, hey, maybe a feature is not working. It could be a release. It could be something isolated to a single platform. It could be a bug. It could be anything, or people are just not the answer does not matter as much as your thought process is something I learned a bit too late, I would say. So just you have to make sure that your interviewer does not know what you're thinking, and their perception would be solely based on what you say in the interview. So just maintain a good pace, make sure that your interviewer is on the same page as you every single minute in your interview, and just keep on cross questioning. Make sure that it's a conversation. Do not kind of hope to be the star of the show. You won't get anywhere just by being, because there is only 2 of you over there. So take your time, make it into a conversation. Let them think that they are talking with someone who's authentic and someone who's human, rather than just saying, hey, this is what I would do. I would go to the data science team, I would talk with engineering, I would talk with marketing. You actually do not do that in real life as well. So just make sure to take your time and have a natural conversation with them. And the second thing would definitely be the recruiter is your best friend, and they want you to get the role. It would just make their job easier. They can close down that requisition and move on to their next role. So just kind of make their job easy. Ask them questions. How's the team like? What do they usually ask? How's the team culture? Anything that you might think of, ask the recruiter. Maybe ask them for a prep call. Can I run through some of my answers with you? They would be happy to. If they say no, that's fine, but never hurts to ask. So they are your biggest supporter during the interview process. And even the hiring manager, until the interview starts, wants you to get the role, because even they need someone to join their team quickly. So just acknowledge that and make everyone's job easier, and just get that offer quickly as soon as you can.
Awesome. So the quick summary: do not jump into conclusions. Ask a lot of questions.
Yes.
And keep the pace, and stay and like speak like a human. Don't be like a robot.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a casual.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Just a follow-up question on that. Let's talk about product design question. Pretty much all of us, I mean, many of us know about the Circles framework, and there are multiple other frameworks as well. So as soon as you get a question, like for example, hey, increase the improvement of a product by 10% or whatever. Maybe for certain questions, the framework might be a perfect fit. But there are situations where you are not supposed to use the framework. Let's talk about that. Like, what are some common pitfalls or things that we shouldn't overuse frameworks, right? Could you talk about that? And have you experienced it in your real-time mock interviews or in your interviews?
Yes. And my biggest advice first would be research the company that you're interviewing for. Check out Glassdoor, LinkedIn about people's interview experiences. And if you feel that a framework is absolutely essential and that's what people are looking for, then go for it. Otherwise, if you cannot find a framework, and if you have found a framework, let's say Circles framework, which is one of the most well-known frameworks, don't stick to it as if your life depended on it. Try to see how it fits into your thought process. Don't try to force it like that. So if you just parrot a memorized answer, the recruiter or the hiring manager will come to know, and you definitely won't get the offer. So if you practice more of your framework, just record yourself while talking, or practice with friends or on mock interview groups, anywhere. Look at some product breakdowns from the product folks. They have great videos of that as well. But the more and more you practice, the less and less you get nervous, and the framework kind of naturally becomes ingrained in your mind, as compared to you're remembering, okay, what does C stand for? What does I stand for? I should say this next. And just making that clear to the recruiter, the hiring manager, every single time, that, okay, now I will say this. And I'm pretty sure the hiring manager must have seen many answers with Circle scenario. So they'll pick up on your gig, and there is probably a lesser chance of you getting the offer. So just make sure to practice so much that it's almost like a second nature to you. And that's easier said than done. PM prep is very difficult, but given the number of roles and the number of the supply and demand, that's something you definitely have to keep in mind to stand out from everyone else.
Absolutely. Yes. Great. Let's talk about the way you prepared for your interviews. Let's talk about PayPal and Zoom. Of course, at PayPal, I don't know if you took a PM interview, but no. How was the process? How much time did you spend on design? For example, say like 30% or 50% on design, 20 on strategy. Is there a way to quantify that, or just let us know how you prepared, your resources, your tips, what we should do, how efficient can be with preparing the interview?
Sure. So It depends on if you're a student or not. And even if you are a student, it depends on when are you graduating. For this case, I'll just assume it's when I was a student and I was not kind of in a full-time job and preparing. So as a student, and even while preparing for PayPal or Zoom, any time, I think there are three pillars that my interview prep stood on. The first one was sourcing. Sourcing is basically getting interviews, because if you do not get interviews, then the rest 2 points are null and void. I mean, they don't make sense. If you do not have interviews, no matter how much mock interviews you do, no matter how great you have got the framework down, it won't matter. So the first one you should initially focus on definitely sourcing if you are having trouble getting interviews. And the second is preparing. So by preparing, like we discussed about case studies, reading books, watching mock interviews, and creating a Google Doc. That's what I did, creating Google Doc of all your questions. It can be, tell me about yourself. If you have previous internship experience, then what did you work on? How that can be viewed through a PM's lens. Like if you maintain a talk like that, it will definitely help you in the subsequent interviews. And creating company specific documents is something I did. And the third is practicing and validating. So validating is basically validating whether the preparation that you have done is good or bad. So these are the top three things. So sourcing, preparing, and practicing. And the sourcing part almost should never end. It should start from day one for you, for anyone. And it can be anything: cold emailing people, sending emails to people. So for sending emails, I had got LinkedIn Premium when I started searching for PM interviews, and it definitely paid off. So uh, I highly recommend that. And those are the main things. I personally didn't have much luck even while preparing for software or product getting interviews through cold app, just applying. So I took the other path, which was not common then, of cold emailing or just in mailing someone that I'm interested in a role within their company. And I actually got PayPal by cold emailing, and I got Zoom by cold in mailing. So those are two ways I will highly recommend. They have definitely worked for me. And maybe I could share some templates that I have which work for me later with everyone. And while preparing, it's definitely case studies, and write or record everything that you do within your practice, because you can just go back and see whether you have improved or not, and how exactly your thinking has evolved for uh, all of the questions that you're preparing. While you're reading books, don't just read them just for the sake of completing. Underline the important points that you think, circle on points you think you should revisit again. Watch mock interviews. So if you want to distill it to a 30-day plan, then sourcing should definitely be the first couple of days. You should just kind of focus on getting interviews, and maybe from day 5 to day 20 you should prepare. And in the last 10 days you should only do mock interviews. There should be a point where you have got down everything that you need to do. Sourcing should never stop. You should keep getting interviews, because you don't know which one you'll convert and which one you won't. And finally, just maybe for the last part, like the last 1/3 part of the 30-day plan, is just to prepare. There is no such thing as over preparing for PM interviews. Get out all the nervousness, all the mistakes that you think are relevant, and just keep on practicing, and you'll get an offer.
Awesome. Just to quickly summarize, sourcing do every day. Preparation shouldn't take more than 10-15 days. I mean, just to make sure that you're
if you consider a 30-day time frame.
Yeah.
Got
it. Just to make sure that your confidence levels are right. Till that, just keep on at it.
Correct.
And then eventually, the only way to do is to do as many mock interviews as possible.
Yes. Yeah. And you'll find many people online in Slack communities willing to practice mock interviews with you. So there's definitely no dearth of people over there. So it's just, you just have to hustle, network, and practice.
Awesome. Great. That brings to the end of the interview prep thingy. Let's move to Q&A. I think we have around 9 questions. Before that, Aakash, I'm just curious to know, we have around like 14 people who said they're applying. Let's just put a quick poll and ask how many are there applying so far? Like, what's the range? Are they in 10 plus, 20 plus, 30 plus? Just want to know how many people are applying.
Oh, hold on.
But actually, can I do the poll? Like,
I'll have to create it.
no, then in that case, we'll do it in the end.
Yeah.
Let's get into the Q&A. Over to you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aakash. I think those are like really great insights to understand how should one go about the interview process. There are a couple of audience Q&As and we'll probably go through them one by one. The first one is, how would you suggest someone approach applying if they are enrolled in a 1-year course? This is more, I think, towards the timeline aspect, but yeah, if you have any thoughts.
If you're a 1-year course, then I think first figure out whether you can do internships or not. If you can, then there is a good chance your internship would be converted to a full-time role. So first see whether you can do an internship, because as far as I know, at least for international students, you can do internships after spending 9 months in your course. So first figure that out. And the second part would be, for those who have 1-year courses, getting a job should be priority number 1 the moment you start even before you start your course, where you should start networking from the time you are in your home country. If you're here right now and I've assumed your 1-year course is ongoing, then instead of waiting on just applications, go and reach out to people, because in case of aspirant and a company, someone has to reach out to someone first, and if no one is reaching out to you, then you reach out to the other person, and that way you will just accelerate your process. So if you have a 1-year course, to put it simply, just get started as soon as you can.
Got it. The next question is, would prior PM experience help your application process? And there's a second part to the question where he's asking, what do recruiters see in your resume?
Prior PM experience is something.
I think in this second bit of the question, we could probably address while we're doing the resume review. We could start off with the first one, I think, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Anything is fine. Prior PM experience is something everyone wishes they would have while applying to full-time PM roles or internships. So that's definitely something recruiters look out for. And they also look at impact. So even if you do not have experience, then what is the impact that you have had? And you should, regardless of the field that you're from, you are applying to PM roles. And one way to measure success for PMs is impact. So you should definitely make sure that your resume is tailored, like every single one of your sentences is tailored towards impact and what was the exact thing that you achieved. Never lie. Don't lie on the resume, because during an interview they could pick it up and you could be in big trouble. But just focus on more on impact, and probably we could touch on that in the resume review.
Got it. Pranava is asking, what are your favorite books and blogs to gain insight on product management?
My favorite book while preparing it definitely was Decode and Conquer. It's my favorite book for PM interview prep, and one which is called the Product Manager Interview, which has I think 167 questions in a Q&A format for interviewing. So those are definitely 2 of my favorite books.
Got it. And any blogs, something that you kind of look to stay up to date with whatever's happening in the tech world? Anything that you kind of look at?
Twitter is an amazing source. I've I've been spending more and more time on Twitter recently. And if you follow one product person on Twitter, you'll get a recommended feed of other PMs you should follow. And if you just keep on doing that, your feed will be golden.
Shout
Just a
out.
just a just a quick follow up. Who do you follow the most? I mean, like whose posts have you turned on notifications?
So for Twitter and any social app apart from WhatsApp, I haven't turned on notifications for any single application. And there is no one. One particularly I liked was Shreyas Doshi. I think he talked at Product Folks as well. He is very well known. Yeah, definitely the OG. And the reason I like it is because more PMs also comment on his Twitter thread, and that way you can follow more people. So that's a great source for learning as well as a great source for finding new people to follow on Twitter.
Yeah, my three would be Shreyas Doshi, Ravi Mehta, and Shishir from Koda.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've turned on notifications, so this was
okay, next question is, what are the day-to-day activities of a PM? I think it's very subjective, but probably like a general sense of things.
Honestly, every day of every week for me is completely different. Apart from a few recurring meetings, so there is definitely talking with a lot of cross-functional teams on a day-to-day basis. It can be marketing, sales, technical account managers, sales, engineering, other PMs, etc. And I usually have to put down some focus time to focus on and work on my tasks. So that is something I try to do at least thrice or 4 times a week. And then I usually talk with customers on a day-to-day basis, but it's hard to figure out what an average day looks like. It differs completely week to week, day to day. I mean, even my recurring Wednesdays are not the same. So today I had 4 different meetings. Last week I had just 2. So, and completely different. So every day is different. There is no way you can kind of quantify it.
So you have to kind of be comfortable living in that chaos as such.
Yes.
So someone's asking, what are the chances of your resume getting shortlisted for product roles if you have a project management master's? I think it's very, very specific, but it's very, very specific.
So a master's in project management, PROJECT.
Yeah.
It is almost similar, but not exactly the same. So probably higher than average, I would say. I have very less idea on what that major is, so I cannot comment more.
Got it. Any necessary certifications to apply for PM roles to increase our chances?
No, not at all. Because certifications are a pay-to-play thing. So if you are paying for a certification, there is infinitely high chance you will get that certificate. And I, even while talking with I've never seen anyone get, oh wow, they have XYZ certification, we should give them a call. So certifications are maybe good for learning, but putting them on your resume probably won't help you much.
Gotcha. I think last question, how important is referrals and networking when applying for internships or full-time even?
Very. So I think it can be boiled down to 3 stages. The first is just applying and hoping for the best, which is the worst way, and I have stopped believing in that way now. But some companies definitely look at all resumes. So there are, but I personally have never received a call back from a normal application. The second is a referral is always better than a normal application because someone within the company is vouching for you. But there is also a big problem now that everyone is asking for referrals, and so it's almost equivalent to the number of people who are applying normally. So I would say that referrals are definitely better than normal applying, but reaching out directly works best.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I think we're done with the Q&A. Let's get to the meat of the event.
Awesome. Just one last question. I think Deepesh asks how to figure out if SPE or PM role is more suitable for a person like.
Oh,
Oh,
So
that is extremely
difficult.
personal decision.
Yeah.
Not even difficult. It's extremely personal. So if you know truly in your heart that you want to become a PM, then no matter the personal cost, no matter how much time you are giving to interviews, you would want to become a PM. And the same goes for SWE. But do both, work on both, read a lot about both, and then you can definitely make up your mind.
Yeah, I think short answer is do both these things, whichever gives you more joy, do that. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we had more questions in the Q&A section.
we covered all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
I
two
don't think
there are a
We are-
few down.
No, we are only left with the last two. It says, could you explain reaching out in more detail?
Yeah. For that, it's both A and B. So you should contact the recruiters and the managers of the team that you're interested in. Alums, definitely, but alums could only help you for a referral rather than just reaching out. And what to say in these messages, that is a good question. So it should be short and concise, no more than 3 or 4 lines, and attach your resume always. And the subject line should be very short, and it should say what you want. So it should not be like, hey, can we speak for 15 minutes? How are you? What are you doing? And what are you working on? It should mainly be, I'm interested in this role in your team. My experience is this. I've studied here, or I'm studying here. Here's my resume. Let me know what you think, or something on those lines.
Got it.
Cool. Oh, we have a couple of more. We'll take these two as last ones, and then we can go next.
Okay, I think the last two, the first one is, if you take all technical software courses during masters, would it be better for PM roles, or taking data related courses would be better?
If all of the courses you're taking are technical, then if you put data courses in the mix, then those are definitely helpful, because just more different perspective on whether you want to become a data PM or not is something you could self-validate.
Got it. The last question, folks. Being from VoIP space, I connected with Annie Shen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. PM at Zoom. As per her, the learning curve in Zoom was the best part of the company. What are your insights on the culture of the company?
Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, definitely the learning curve is something I value a lot, because if I see that I'm personally growing with it in this company, then I like it. And I feel that Zoom gives me the chance to do that. And here, even as a new grad PM, if I ask for more ownership, then I'm given that. And that can be talking directly with customers or leading some projects. And I've seen this with other new grad PMs as well. So mainly ownership, caring, and trust within each other. And everyone is great. I can reach out to anyone at any time is one of the best parts about Zoom.
Nice.
Thank you so much for answering these many questions, Aakash. I think we all appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Awesome. So let's get to the most awaited part of the section, the resume review. So I'm going to quickly explain how this is going to work now. So we have about 14 to 15 people who replied to us over the email. And I'll be calling out names, and if you guys would love to come to the stage, you can click the raise hand button, which is in the bottom center of your screen, and we will be able to let you to the stage, and you can share your screen. And Aakash will take a maximum of a minute to quickly give you points about your resume, and then we'll go with the next person. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
So before that, should I stop record?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, let's stop recording.